Creating and following personal effectiveness ritual. Before you can become more effective, you must have the right lifestyle that will give you the personal focus and willpower you need to get things done. This doesn't apply to everybody, but try to adopt as many of these as possible. Sleep longer. When you sleep, you are recharging your willpower. Think of willpower as a set of coins in your hand. You only have a fixed number. Whenever you have to make a decision or whenever you have to analyze something, you have to spend one of these willpower coins. At the end of the day, you have no coins left. When you sleep, you recharge the willpower that you have, and if you get deep, high-quality sleep, you actually end up with more willpower coins to start your day. Wake up early. When you wake up early, you energize your focus. You also achieve a sense of newness or tap into a sense of possibility or adventure. These are very important states of mind that you need to leverage for greater effectiveness. Make it a point to wake up early. Exercise. I know that a lot of people are scared of exercise. I know a lot of people are under the impression that they simply do not have the luxury of time to exercise. I get that. Believe me, I know where you're coming from. The good news is exercise doesn't have to be big or dramatic. You can adopt a daily exercise routine that doesn't have to take up much time. What's important is that you're consistent. This is the key. As long as you do it the morning after morning, you are fine. It may be something as simple as walking around the block or just walking your dog. That's okay. Just do it in the morning to turbocharge your focus and do it consistently, and you should be okay. Take a cold or short shower. This is controversial because, hey, let's face it, most people do not like to be inconvenienced. A lot of people think that when you take a very cold shower first thing in the morning, especially if you live in the colder parts, it is a form of torture. Believe me, I understand where you're coming from, but you need to shock your system. You must have a certain bright line in your daily routine where you wake up, and the best way to send your body this signal is to take a cold shower. The good news is you don't have to stand under that blast of frigid water. You can use this opportunity to speed up showering. Also, when you do this, you not only wake up in a very clear way to start your day, but you also build up your ability to withstand discomfort. You can look at this as increasing your ability to withstand challenging situations. Believe me, taking an ice-cold shower first thing in the morning can be quite challenging. The good news is you get used to it. If you're able to handle that, then you will probably be able to handle a lot of other challenging situations. Eat a light, low-carb breakfast. If you have followed the advice above, you should be feeling energized. You should be very pumped up right now. Don't throw it all away by eating a very heavy, high-carb breakfast. I'm talking about lots of pancakes, possibly mashed potatoes or hash browns or rice or any other breakfast that involves a lot of starch. When you do that, you not only get a huge surge in insulin, which gives you some sort of brain freeze, but it also bloats you. This is a lousy way to start the day. Instead, eat a very light, low-carb breakfast. This means that you can load up on protein. Maybe you can eat sausages or corned beef or even scrambled eggs. Whatever the case may be, focus on the fat content so you get the energy you need without getting loaded down by a sudden spike in your blood insulin levels. Practice gratitude or some other form of mindfulness before you start working or before you start doing what you normally do every day at work or at school. Practice gratitude. This doesn't have to be anything elaborate. You don't have to use some sort of complicated ritual. Just focus on the things that you're grateful for. Think about your greatest achievement in life. For most people, this has something to do with education. Maybe they finished high school or they have a college or graduate school diploma. Whatever the case may be, focus on something big that you have achieved and how thankful you are. When you do this, you take your focus away from your stress, your worries, or anything else that soaks up mental energy. Instead, you focus on feeling open. When you achieve that state of emotional openness, you can tap into emotional energy that you can then direct to the task at hand. Alternatively, you can practice mindfulness. Again, this doesn't have to be a formal version of meditation. It can be a simple exercise involving you holding your breath for a few seconds, releasing and then holding again. Whatever form it takes, do it if it enables you to lock into the present moment and completely unwind your mind. Give yourself the gift of a sense of urgency when attacking your task list. When you show up to work or when you sit down to do your job. At home, look at your to-do list and focus on item number 1 with all emotional force and concentration. Attack it with everything you've got. Ideally, you should put the most challenging task of the day at the top. Give it everything you've got and, believe me, you will feel a nice emotional surge if you pull this off. Why? You get a nice sense of accomplishment. You are able to take out the tasks that you would have rather postponed or procrastinated on. Pat yourself on the back. You've done a great thing because hey, let's face it. If left up to you, you probably would not have done it. So, make a conscious effort to knock out the hardest task first thing in the morning or first thing in the day. Chop each to-do list item into bite-sized pieces. At this point, you should have simplified the tasks on your to-do list items. However, there's always room for improvement. Keep simplifying them until you reach a point where you only need to do one thing for you to take care of a bite-sized task. Once you take care of that, then you do another bite-sized task until you knock out an actual to-do list item. When you do things this way, you become less afraid of each task. You stop worrying about how much time it would take. You stop thinking about how difficult it is. You just focus on doing it right here, right now. So, simplify everything as much as possible by reducing them to bite-sized tasks and just plow through them like a bulldozer. Attack thoroughly now that you have everything in bite-sized pieces. As I said, attack them with everything you've got, but don't just blow them out of the water. Don't just get rid of them for the sake of getting rid of them. Instead, be very thorough. In other words, when you are supposed to file a report for your sales job, you need to look at all the details. Make sure that everything is what your boss expected. Make sure you don't overlook any kind of detail. In other words, focus on quality. If you are a student and you need to read a novel for a class, make sure you thoroughly read the book and you've taken useful notes. If you are working at a factory, don't just do what's expected of you, but make sure that the output meets the highest quality standards. Attack and be thorough. These go hand in hand. These are not alternatives. Use the power of emotional ownership to get more stuff done. Personal effectiveness is not just about doing stuff. It's also about doing them right and doing more of them. One way to truly take things to the next level is to use emotional ownership. You see, a lot of employees struggle with their job because, at some level or other, they feel divorced from their work. There's an emotional disconnect between who they are and the things that they do to put food on the table. It is no surprise that a lot of people simply hate their jobs. It's not a shock that a lot of these people are not all that productive. Also, the quality of their work is nothing to write home about. If any of these applies to you, you can turn things around by simply using the power of emotional ownership. Here's how you do it. Decide to truly own the stuff you are working on. When you are assigned a task or a project, understand that it will reflect you. It's not just a job. It is not a trivial collection of tasks on a piece of paper. Also, you're not just a cog in the machine. I know it may seem basic. It may seem simple. It might even be a task that almost anybody can do. But guess what? It's still important. It is still worth doing to the very best of your ability. It is also imperative that you do more of it. Why? The results you produce with this task reflects your character. You have to operate at that level. This is no longer a question of doing things to put food on the table. This is no longer a question of punching the clock for 8 hours and then punching out so you can earn a paycheck. This is about personal pride. Let personal pride push your personal effectiveness upward and out. Ask yourself these questions: what does my work say about me? What does my work reveal about my values? What does my work say about my destiny as a person on this planet? What does my performance at work say about my impact on my world? These are very big questions because most people refuse to ask these questions. They think that their boss is somehow entitled to give them a paycheck every 2 weeks. If you, on the other hand, ask yourself these questions, chances are you will be able to produce more work at a higher level of quality, and guess what will happen? Your boss would be a fool not to promote you. Your boss would be an idiot not to give you leadership positions. Most people struggle with their income precisely because they want to do the very least to avoid getting fired. I'm telling you that's not good enough. That's not going to cut it. You're not performing at a highly effective level if that is your attitude. You have to let your work reflect your personal pride. This is about you. You may be pushing a button at a factory all day every day, but guess what? You have to be the very best button pusher if you really have pride in yourself. Pride gives you a power of emotional ownership. You know, when people act out of pride, things get real because there is an emotional component there. Use this to work for you instead of against you. I know a lot of people who get into fights because of pride issues. Well, use that same dynamic to work for you. However, this time, the fight is not against other people but against yourself. It's a fight against laziness, mediocrity, and lack of imagination. It's also a fight against inefficiency. You see, when you accept the idea that whatever you produce is a reflection of your personal pride, you take emotional ownership. This is not just small stuff. These are not trivial tasks that really don't add up to much of anything. Instead, this is a big deal. This is about you, who you are, what you're about, what your values are, and your qualities as a person. If you think along these lines, you will no longer be going through the motions. Instead, you're going to be looking at the actual results that you're doing and will try to line that up with the personal image you have of yourself. Framing things this way mentally enables you to work to produce the highest quality. It also enables you to work to produce more. Pride leads to efficiency. Have you ever been assigned to a work group where you were lucky enough to know somebody who actually took pride in their work? It really is mind-blowing because these people go beyond the call of duty. They look at what they're doing and then they don't just go through the motions. They don't believe in good enough. Instead, they connect the dots and see if they can step things up in terms of output, quality, or both. Also, they look at automation. The most effective people I know always look for existing software to speed up what they're doing. They're not doing this just to save time, mind you. They're doing this to give themselves enough time so they can step up the quality of their work and give them enough resources to automate their jobs even further. Many highly effective people also use their previous work as templates. They then learn from their previous work cars to constantly increase quality, and this yields greater efficiency. Do you see how this works? This is the mindset that you need to adopt. Unfortunately, if you don't take pride in what you're doing, it's going to be very hard to assume emotional ownership. It's going to be too tempting to just go through the emotions. It's just too tempting to look at what you're doing as something that is really not all that important because, hey, let's face it, you're just another cog in the machine. Well, if you don't take pride in what you do, don't be surprised if your boss doesn't take pride in you. Achieve more by working more purposefully. Oftentimes, it's more important to focus on why you're doing things instead of obsessing about what to do and how to do them. Don't get me wrong. You have to be competent, so you have to know what to do and how to do them and how to follow a certain sequence of actions. However, if you don't have a clear understanding of your purpose, a key ingredient is missing. This is the key ingredient you need to take your results to the next level. This is why you need to follow the steps below. Write and rewrite your grand visions for your life. What do you want out of your life? By this point, you should already have a set of big goals. You're going to keep writing and rewriting these grand visions. Be as clear as you can. What's important is that they are vivid in your mind. They have to stand out. They have to trigger an emotional state. What purposes does your vision reveal? When you write down all your visions, you should be able to read between the lines. You should be able to connect the dots. By reading your grand vision, you should be able to see the big picture of your life. What does it reveal about you? What direction does it call you to? What kind of person do you have to be to achieve these? Allow yourself to get pumped up. Allow yourself to get inspired. Work towards those purposes when you read your grand visions. Allow yourself to feel purposeful. Allow yourself to get excited by the fact that you are not just surviving day to day. There's a reason you're still breathing. There is a logic that you're following. All of this leads somewhere. If you are able to get that sense of direction and meaning, allow yourself to feel motivated. Unlike most people who are just simply chasing their tails and going around in circles, you actually have a direction. What's more, every single day is a day closer to your big objectives. You're not just going through motions. You're not just wasting day after day seeing one day blur into another. Every challenge you overcome gets you closer. Every solution you come up with gets you closer. Practice purpose-driven problem solving as you pursue your goals. Chances are you probably will hit a rough spot from time to time. This is to be expected. That's how life works. The big difference between winners and losers is that winners are able to snap back up very quickly when they get knocked down by circumstances. They don't wallow in self-pity. They don't waste time looking for other people to blame. They definitely don't look at themselves as victims. As much as possible, when they get knocked down, they spring back up, and they try again and again and again. Sure, they get knocked down again, but they keep trying. Losers, on the other hand, stay down. They think that the reason they lost is that they were born poor, their parents were divorced or separated, people did not treat them properly, or they got abused. In other words, they look at themselves as victims. The world owes them something. Stop thinking like a victim, because the longer you do that, the longer it will take for you to achieve victory, assuming you achieve it. There are only two types of people in this world, victims or victors. When you practice purpose-driven work, you are positioning yourself as a victor. Now, a victor is not some sort of magical person who is immune to life's challenges. There will be setbacks. There will be failures. What's important is how you deal with them. Focus on purpose-driven problem solving. Oftentimes, these big challenges that threaten to rob you of your opportunities are actually opportunities in disguise. This is how winners get over, because they look at their problems as simple stepping stones to a higher state of success. Losers, on the other hand, look at their problems and stay so fixated that the only thing that they can focus on is their problems. Let me tell you, when you focus on any problem, it gets bigger and bigger and your resolve gets weaker and weaker. Stop looking at the problem and start focusing on what you can do to solve that problem. Focus on your pride. You're smarter than this. You're more resilient than this. You're more resourceful than this. Most importantly, focus on your purpose and the challenges fall into perspective. I'm not saying that they become ridiculously easy. I'm not claiming that. What I am saying is that you now have a better framework and a better emotional state so you can solve these problems. They no longer have to be paralyzing. They no longer have to debilitate you and rob you of your willpower. Challenge yourself daily. On a daily basis, you have to ask yourself a series of questions. More importantly, you have to take action on these questions. You have to answer these and take these actions. Can I produce more? It doesn't matter what kind of job you do. Maybe you're a teacher. Perhaps you're a construction worker. Possibly, you're a business person. Ask yourself, can I produce more units? When you ask yourself this question repeatedly, it triggers your internal imagination, resourcefulness, and creativity. Things start to fall into place because you are an evolving learning organism. You learned certain things in the past, and you're able to connect the issues that you have now with the things that you have witnessed or experienced in the past. Eventually, things fall into place. Unfortunately, that is not going to happen if you do not ask yourself this question repeatedly. This dynamic applies to the following questions as well. Can I produce higher quality work? Don't settle for the quality that you're producing now. See if you can step it up. Can I network better? As the old saying goes, two heads are better than one. It's absolutely true because we're all different. We're all limited and, oftentimes, we look at the world in our own limited way. We end up developing tunnel vision. If you network with people who look at whatever puzzles you're struggling with from a completely different perspective, your chances of solving that problem go up tremendously. Network as much as possible. Try to learn from as many people as possible. Sure, they may have a very toxic personality. Some of them may be flat out unpleasant, but try to learn from them anyway. Can I reduce my work time? Look at the amount of time you're putting into your work. Ask yourself if you can dramatically reduce the amount of effort you put into your daily tasks. You can do this through automation. You can do it through software. You can do this through networking, delegation, or outsourcing. Ask yourself if you're doing enough to reduce your work time. Now, you're doing this not because you want to slack off. You're doing this so you can invest that freed up time to further automation or further efficiency. Can I automate better? If you are not automating your tasks, then you are not doing it right. I don't care what kind of work you do. There's always space for automation. So, try to find a mobile app or a locally installed piece of software or some other technological solution to automate what you're doing. It can be a small part or it can be a large chunk of your daily work. Can I pack more value into my work? Value is crucial to how much money you make. Let me tell you, if you're complaining about your salary, it's because the value you produce is fixed at a certain level. If you want your boss to get excited by giving you a pay raise, increase the value of your work. This can take two forms: either you produce more units or you increase the quality of each unit you manage to produce. Can I solve more problems? I understand a lot of people don't intentionally look for problems. In fact, if you're a normal person, you would try to stay away from problems as much as possible. However, if you are looking to maximize your effectiveness, you have to look at problems for what they truly are. They are opportunities to step up your game. Let's put it this way: what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So, that should be your attitude regarding your problems. Can I connect the dots better for innovative breakthroughs? Not only should you challenge the things that you're doing, you should also challenge your mindset or your problem-solving skills. This doesn't have to involve like a massive overnight explosion. As long as you are intentional about this, you will achieve some breakthrough. It doesn't have to be big, but every little breakthrough you achieve can be scaled up. So, focus on connecting the dots better. Don't assume that you've figured everything out. Always look at whatever challenges you face with a fresh set of eyes. Personal effectiveness is like a muscle. Remember, if you want to boost your personal effectiveness, understand that it's no different from going to the gym. When you first hit the gym and your muscles aren't used to the weights, you're going to feel like crap the morning. However, the more you work out, and the more you put pressure on your muscles, the leaner, the stronger and the more powerful they become. The same applies to your personal effectiveness. For it to grow, it has to be challenged. So, put yourself in difficult situations. Don't ignore challenges. You have to put a lot of stress on your ability to solve problems and your ability to function effectively. Otherwise, you're going to stagnate. You're not doing yourself any favors. Document your journey for maximum control. Please understand that when you keep a journal for personal effectiveness, you're doing this not because you have nothing else better to do. You're doing this because you want to control the process. Boosting effectiveness is not something done on a whim. It's not something that you do casually. It takes calculated action. It takes a lot of analysis, and you have to be strategic about it. This is why you have to keep a personal effectiveness journal. Here's how you do it. Track your journey. The first thing that you need to do is to focus on track. This means you need to record who you were before and after you've decided to become more effective. When you look at who you were and your level of performance when you started, you can't help but get motivated. Maybe you are 1 week from your start date, or maybe you're several months. Whatever the case, maybe you're going to be in a better position than when you started. Allow yourself to get pumped up and motivate. You should also track your solutions. Every journey is going to involve some pothole or some sort of challenge. Overcoming these, of course, involves solutions. Track them. See if you can get a clear idea of how you came up with a solution and figure out how to improve these solutions. Look at the results that you've been producing and ask yourself, are these the very best results that I can achieve? Am I capable of more? Ask yourself, can I do more? How do I get better quality? As you go through your journey, you should be able to document certain tweaks and modifications to your personal efforts. Learn from these. Isolate these. Isolate your challenges in writing. The worst thing that you can is to just emotionally accept that you're going through a tough time. That's the worst thing that you can do. Why? You're just going on a feeling. You have to write these challenges down. You have to clearly define and isolate these challenges. Break them up into small parts. When you write them down, you can then start researching solutions to them and start running experiments. This is the most effective way of changing your behavior, so whatever challenges you run into will not derail your progress. They're not going to throw you off track. They're not going to make you emotional. Instead, if you keep repeating this process over and over again, you will never run into a problem that will throw you off. You won't automatically assume that something is impossible. Instead, you know that you have taken care of these challenges in the past because you've attacked them systematically and methodically. You can do the same again and again far into the future. All it took was isolating your challenges in writing. Best practices for getting things done. These are some best practices that you should adopt if you would like to become a more effective person. Not all these best practices apply to all people. They don't apply across the board. However, if you see any of these applying to your set of circumstances, don't hesitate to adopt them. Start now. I don't care what's going on in your life, but you have to commit to starting now. I know it may seem inconvenient. You probably are tempted to hold things off until tomorrow. However, let me tell you, tomorrow will never come. The more you keep saying to yourself there is always a tomorrow, the more you doom yourself. You're just giving yourself an out. You're giving yourself excuses after excuse not to start. You're giving in to your fear. Don't do that. Resolve to start now. Of course, what I mean by that is not immediately, but starting at a certain predefined date. However, regardless of what you're feeling, when that date comes, you snap into action and start. Every baby step forward you take is a victory. A lot of people are under the impression that if they are looking to boost their personal effects that they have to get out of the gate like some sort of Kentucky Derby thoroughbred. Absolutely wrong. You don't have to get out of the gate like a champion. You can take baby steps. That's okay. As long as those steps are consistent, you are making progress. Always remember that every baby step forward you take is still a step forward. In other words, it's still a victory. Every failure is a victory in disguise. When you run into a snag, don't allow yourself to get emotionally down. Seriously. When you run into a problem, you get an opportunity. You get to learn how to fix problems. More importantly, you learn how to change your personal character to get poised for greater success. Your failures don't have to define you. Your emotional stress doesn't have to derail your forward progress to eventual victory. Focus on the big picture and, most importantly, focus on solving problems in the here and now to take you one step closer to your eventual goal. Now, understand that sometimes when you attack the front door, you can't make any progress. That is the cue. You need to go through the side door. If that is sealed off or is unavailable, try the roof or the basement. Whatever you do, keep trying. Focus on building systems. People who fail are focused on hacks. They're focused on figuring out what to do at the right time in the right place. Now, this is a problem because you're basically just betting that you will get lucky. Oftentimes, luck doesn't appear when you need it. So, focus instead on building a system. It's not terribly sexy, but it's effective. It's all about having the right sequence of tasks that you do so you can tackle whatever comes your way. Get enough sleep if you really want to give your all to your daily tasks every single day. Get enough sleep. When you get enough sleep, you get enough willpower. Willpower is the currency that you pay to achieve things every single day. Improve the quality and length of your sleep so you can have the resources you need to accomplish things that truly count every single day.